Hello everyone, it's Joe Amoy, the Ambassador for Love, and I'd like to welcome you to tonight's webinar, The Secrets to Dating Success, the 5 steps to creating the results you really want in your love life. Now, I've got a jam-packed night filled tonight, and you're going to hear, I'm from New York, I'm from New Jersey, I talk really fast, and sometimes my mouth works quicker than my brain, and so I just get so fumbled on my words, and that's simply because I'm so excited and I want to deliver as much as I can in the limited amount of time we have tonight. So if that happens, that's just the way I roll. So I just want to be upfront and honest with that. It's just I've got so much to deliver in such a short amount of time, and this stuff is so important to me, and you'll hear my story in a little while. And I just want you to really walk away with this from this webinar with some things that you can actually use to start creating better results in your life. So before we get started, I want to do a couple of things. The first thing I want to do is I actually want to welcome you, and I want to acknowledge you for being here. I know that your time is extremely valuable. I know that there's a lot of things that you can and maybe should be doing right now. And the fact that you showed up right now and that you're listening to this speaks volumes to me, and I want you to know how appreciative I am of your presence. And so what I want to do now is give you a big high five. Because one of the things that I see in my journey is that we're constantly told how we're missing the mark, how we're not doing things right. And that's not really the purpose of tonight. The purpose of tonight is to tell you that, you know what, you're awesome, and you're just maybe doing some things that aren't working for you. And so what I want you to walk away with is some knowledge, some skills, and some tools that you can use to start creating the results that you really want. Now, I'm the type of person, all that matters to me in life is results. And we're either getting the results we want in our life or we're not. And if we're not, I'm not here to beat people up and tell them they suck or tell them they're doing things wrong. It's just what they're doing isn't working. And there's always a better way to do things. And that's really my intention for tonight, is simply to see, okay, where are we missing the mark? Where can we do things better? And how can we create the results that we really want? I'm not about just doing anything to get a guy. It's about how can you get the kind of guy that you're looking for. There are a lot of experts, a lot of gurus out there, a lot of books, a lot of programs, a lot of things on the internet which will tell you how you can catch a guy, how you can attract a guy. But what good is getting another guy if he's going to be the wrong guy? It's just going to waste your time. It's just going to frustrate you. It's just going to depress you even more. What I stand for is learning how to find and attract the right guy for you, the kind that will make you feel like you're the luckiest woman on the face of the earth. Now, before we get started, I want to go over a few guidelines for tonight's call. And for those of you who've been on other calls that I've done or other programs, you know that these are the guidelines that I review all the time. And so these guidelines, there are 3 of them. The first is don't believe me. Don't believe a word I say. Now, for those of you who are listening to this for the first time going, wait a minute, I don't get it. You do all this work, you send out these emails, you put this program together, and now you're telling me not to believe you? What's up with that? Well, the reason I say that is because I'm simply a human being who can only come from my experience and my perspective and my point of view. And just because it's my experience, my point of view, and my perspective doesn't make it gospel, doesn't make it the truth. So I'm simply going to present you with a bunch of stuff tonight. And I believe that you're smart enough to figure out and to know if it resonates, if it feels good, and it's something that you can use. You know, I see so many people get up on their soapboxes who preach that their way is the way. And you know what? It's simply a bunch of crap. There is no one way to do anything in life. But there is the right way. And I believe that there are several right ways, whether you want to lose weight, whether you want to be more successful in a business, or whether you want to create a happy and fulfilling relationship. So I'm simply going to give you some things that I've learned in my journey, personally for myself, and for those that I've helped find love as well. And the second guideline is we're going to do what I call clothes shopping. And clothes shopping is the premise that simply I'm going to give you a bunch of things and you're going to try them on and you're going to see if they fit. And if they fit, you keep them and you use them. And if they don't, simply put them on the rack and don't pay any attention to them. What I find so often in life is we'll listen to a webinar, we'll read a book, we'll go to, and if you're the glass half empty kind of person, instead of seeing what you can use to make things better, you'll look at what you disagree and what you don't like. And that simply takes your time and it takes your energy away from using what you've learned to make things better. So again, let's look at this as clothes shopping. Simply try some things on. If they fit, keep them and use them. If not, simply get rid of them and move on. And the third guideline is what I believe is the most important. And that's to open your mind and open your heart. Listen, I'm going to ask you to do one thing or two things for the next 60 minutes. And that's simply, as it says, is to open your mind and open your heart. Take this stuff on and try it on. And at the end of the 60 minutes, if you think it's the biggest bunch of BS and you think it's absolutely useless, simply look at this as an hour wasted of your time. But I promise you, that's not going to happen. I'm going to do everything on my end to make sure that that doesn't happen. But like a parachute, the mind and the heart only work when they're open. And that's why I use this as the third guideline, is simply open yourself up. And I believe whatever brought you here tonight, and I believe that something caused you to see the email or to land on our site, or somebody passed along the email to show you and tell you about this event, something got you here. And so if you're here, there's something you need to get from this. And so I believe if you open your mind and open your heart, you'll walk away with knowing or hearing whatever it is that you need to hear, which is going to help you on your journey. Now, like I said, we only have a limited amount of time tonight. And I'm going to do everything I can on my end to deliver the goods and to give you the meat and potatoes, the most important things, the things that I've used to create love in my life. And because we're limited on time, I can't go into everything. There's just too much more that needs to be said. So in the event what you hear resonates with you and you want to know more or you want to go deeper, there are going to be some opportunities at the end of the call for you to try different things on to see what will help you in your journey. Now, when I designed this program, as I said earlier, I was born in New York and I grew up in New Jersey and I live in New Jersey now. I'm a straight shooter. I say it like it is. I mean what I say and I say what I mean. And this call isn't for everybody, and I didn't design it for everybody. I designed it for a specific person in mind. And so I don't want to waste anybody's time, and I want to simply be a straight shooter. Because one of the things I hear from women is, why can't men be more honest? Well, my wife says, sometimes you're too honest. And I said, you know what? I'd rather be too honest and be respected than not be honest and be disliked. So this is who this call is for. This call is for you if you're looking for a serious long-term relationship that actually lasts. And it's also for you if you're tired of attracting the wrong men. And it's for you if you're tired of struggling. You've been trying to do things. You've been reading books. You've been searching the web. And you've tried to do different things. You listen to this person, it doesn't work. You listen to that person. You listen to your mother. You listen to your aunt. You listen to your coworkers. Everybody's giving you advice, and you keep trying different things. You try different events. You go online, and you're still not getting the results you want, and you're tired of it. So if this resonates with you, you're in the right place. And this is also for you if you're afraid that you may never find what you're looking for. Again, you're going to hear my story tonight. And one of the things that you're going to walk away with is this myth that, men don't want love. Men don't want relationships. Men can't commit. And I believe that, there are a lot of good men who can and will commit to the right woman. And so that's the purpose of this call, is to help you find and recognize those guys. And lastly, this call is for you if you're willing to admit that your way isn't working. As I said earlier, the only thing that matters to me is if you're getting the results that you want in your life or you're not. And you know that. So you're either experiencing the kind of results you want or you're not. And if you're not, it's not a judgment on you. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you're broken or need to be fixed. It just means that you're doing something, or maybe you're not doing something, which is causing you to get those results. And so that's what we want to look in tonight, how you can get the results you want. So we explained who the call is for. So now let's explain who the call isn't for. So if you're on the line and you're not interested in a serious long-term relationship, you're just looking for a guy, and you'll take any guy who will come along, and you just want any man to be in your life, then this call isn't for you. If you're currently in a position where you have no problem finding and attracting good men, you realize that, you're attracting good men, you just haven't found the right one, then you know what? This call isn't for you. Or if you're in a position where you're getting good results, you're having fun, this dating isn't a problem for you, then this call isn't for you as well. Now, this call also isn't for you if you're invested in being a victim. I work with a lot of women, and one of the biggest things that I see is a lot of women want to play the victim card. Now, let me preface this by saying that doesn't mean that a lot of bad things haven't happened, that there are a lot of women who haven't had shitty things done to them by men, or women who have had things done to them by their parents. Okay, I'm not discounting that at all. But in order to go forward, in order to have a healthy, happy, and fulfilling relationships, you've got to be able to let that stuff go. You've got to be able to move on. So if you're not at that point yet, you're still want to blame your parents, your ex, all the guys who shitted on you, then this call isn't for you because your mind and your heart isn't open. And I believe everybody's on their journey, and I respect everybody for where they're at in their journey. So if that's happening for you, like I say, I acknowledge you, and that's okay, but come back at another time. You'll be more ready for it then. And lastly, this call isn't for you if you're looking for the quick fix and the magic bullet. One of the things I notice in life, especially in our culture, is we want the quick fix. We want the magic bullet. We want the thing that's instantly going to give us the results, whether it's to lose weight, make more money, get fit, or develop a happy and fulfilling relationship. And it's simply not the way it works. And I'm not going to sit here and BS you like a lot of the other people do and tell you, do this and you're going to find love in 30 days. Can you find love in 30 days? Absolutely. But the reality is, if there's some things you're doing wrong, you need to fix those things first. And once you do that, then you'll quickly find love. That's when the guy will magically fall into your show up in your life. So before we get into the 5 steps, I want to review a couple of things. And this will just simply help you to understand some things a little better. So the first thing I want you to do is just simply give you a reality check. Now, I'm not a big fan of statistics because I believe statistics can be manipulated and twisted around to make them come out in whatever way a person wants them to come out. But I was reading an article recently which talked about the failure rate of marriages. And what was interesting about this article is it went deeper than the statistics that most of us know about. So according to this article, and I really wish I remember exactly where it was. I remember it was a research paper by a graduate student from the University of Minnesota, and that's all I remember. I can't honestly remember exactly where the specific reference was, so I want to be upfront and honest with that. But it's so stuck in my mind that I wanted to share it with you. So according to this research study, 85% of all marriages fail. Now, what we normally hear is 50% of marriages end in divorce. And that's what this article talked about. It said that approximately 50% of marriages actually end in a physical divorce, a legal separation, a legal divorce. But what was really interesting and what I found was shocking about this is of the remaining 50%, 35% of those individuals admitted that if they had to go back and marry their partner, they wouldn't. But these individuals tend to stay in their relationship, in their marriage, for multiple reasons. And the reasons usually were financial. They were afraid of leaving and maybe not finding somebody else. Or it was usually due to kids being involved. And they were afraid of the effects financially, emotionally, and spiritually on their children. So they decided to stay in a happy and unfulfilling relationship. So when I read this, I'm like, holy crap. 85 out of every 100 marriages will end up with the person being happy and unfulfilled in their relationship. And I'm like, that sucks. Well, there are optimists and there are pessimists and then there are realists. I'm neither. I'm a realist. Okay? I'm not a glass half empty kind of guy, and I'm not a glass half full kind of guy. I'm simply a realist. I see it as half empty and half full. And you get to choose how you want to see it and what you want to do so you can create the results you want going forward. So if you've got, if you're somewhat good in math and you realize that 85% of all marriages fail, well, that tells us that 15% succeed. 15% lead to the happy and fulfilling long-term relationship that most people really want. Now, I share this with you not to depress you, but to simply let you know these are the numbers. This is reality. And there are exact reasons why these numbers are reality. Now, you have a choice. You can go, this sucks, I'm doomed, it's so difficult, or you get to decide that what do I need to learn so I can be in the 15%? And what I'm going to share with you tonight is my story, because there was a time where I was in the 85%. And I was in a miserable relationship. Now, there are two pictures that best describe my relationship. And I'm going to talk about the first one. The first one was I felt like I was in an airplane spiraling towards the ground, and I didn't have a parachute. And it was just a matter of time before I was going to crash and burn. I was engaged to a woman. We were 30 days away from getting married. It was a beautiful, sunny July afternoon. I was sitting on the couch, staring at the wall, saying to myself, what the hell's happening? This is supposed to be the happiest, best time of my life, yet I'm miserable. And I know I'm making the biggest mistake of my life. And to be quite honest, I had known that for a long time. This wasn't something that just happened. Pretty much for 2.5 of the 3 years we were together, I was unhappy. And that was evidence if you look at our relationship, because we were together, we had broken up, we were engaged, we had called off the engagement. There was this cycle. It was this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that leads us to the next picture, because it literally felt like we were two people who were trying to make square pegs fit in a round hole. So this one afternoon when I'm sitting there, simply looking into space in a fog, questioning what I was doing. And I got up and I walked into the bedroom where my ex-fiancée was sitting, pretty much in the same state. And she was simply staring at the television. And I sat down on the bed next to her, and I grabbed her hand, and I looked her dead in the eye, and I asked her this one question. And it was this one question that began the change for the rest of my life. And that question was, will we ever be happy? Because see, I had asked that question probably about a dozen times up until that point. And every time I asked that question, she would always say yes. But it was always followed with a but. It's yes, but after I graduate. Yes, but after I get my master's degree. Yes, but after I get a new job. Yes, there was always something. And so because she was telling me what I wanted to hear, I bought into it. No matter what my gut was telling me, no matter what my heart was telling me, no matter what my friends and family members were telling me, there was a part of me that was willing to risk it all on the possibility that one day we could be happy. One day we can be in the 15%. But in that moment, when she looked me in the eye and she said no, I knew what I had to do. Because now there was not even a possibility of being happy. See, I was willing to throw it all away. I was willing to risk, no matter what my gut was telling me, on the hope that one day everything would change and we would be happy. But the second she told me no, which was really what I always knew, the decision became real easy. And so I looked her back in the eye and said, well, what the hell are we getting married for? And so we literally called off the wedding. And, sometimes you look back in life and you see the irony of things. I remember going to the mailbox the next morning. And I remember getting wedding invitations, wedding responses back. And I remember opening one of them up and saying, we can't wait to be sharing your special day with you. And I remember, really in that moment going, God must really have a really sick sense of humor. Because here I am calling off my own wedding, and yet I'm getting wedding invitations of people who are excited to come and spend this day with us. And so I wish I can say that, I got out and everything was perfect, because the reality was after that, my ego, my self-esteem had taken a huge hit. Even though I knew it was the right decision, I knew it was the best decision, there was part of me that questioned, what the hell? I put everything into the relationship, trying to make her happy and trying to make the relationship work. I had given it my all, and yet it still blew up in my face. And so I felt like crap. But there was a part of me that knew that there was a reason in this. And so I was determined that I was never going to make this mistake again. Because, see, one of the mistakes I've seen a lot of people make is they get burned and they get hurt. And they start playing the victim role. See, it's not supposed to happen. It's not in the cards for me. Maybe I'm not meant to love someone. And you know what? That's bullshit. We're all born in this world, and we're wired to love and to be loved. So any human being who says that they don't want to be loved or they can't commit to someone is simply too afraid to do so. And that's okay. I completely respect people, because there are a lot of people who have a lot of stuff. And there's a reason why 85% of marriages and relationships fail. So the purpose of tonight is to help you learn what you need to do to succeed. And so I'm going to fast forward a little bit, because after this breakup, I decided to take a good long look in the mirror. It's something that I call mirror time. And I simply decided to get real with myself and go, what happened? I thought I was an intelligent person. I thought I had my stuff together. And yet I stayed in a relationship where I was miserable for 2.5 years with the hope that one day I was going to be happy. Why? And so I simply got real with myself, and I really looked at things. And what I ultimately realized is that when I was 15, my dad had passed. And my dad was my best friend. He was my world. I grew up in a very traditional Italian family. And so I had a wonderful, wonderful relationship with my dad. And when he passed when I was 15, there was a huge void in my life. There was a huge hole in my heart. And so my happiest memories growing up were being around my dad, being around my family. And so what I realized is that the reason why I was willing to stay in a crappy relationship is because, to me, the payoff was one day having the family, and she was my meal ticket, or I thought at the time. And so I was willing to sell my soul in order to get the prize. And one of the things, as you'll hear later, is that it's a huge mistake. So if you're listening to this right now, and this is resonating with your heart, maybe you're in a relationship where you think it's going to magically get better. You think he's going to turn around. You're putting in all the effort. You're giving, 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 and not getting in return. Then, I suggest you may take a good look in the mirror as well, because it doesn't have to be that difficult. So as a result of this, I decided to get clear. I decided to ask myself this question. If I'm going to spend the rest of my life, what is it that I need in order for me to be happy? I spent so much time trying to make my ex happy and to give and to trying to make the relationship work that my needs weren't being fulfilled. So you're going to hear this in a little while. I got clear and really decided, how can I make that happen? What do I need to do? Because I promised myself, if I could never be happy and fulfilled and truly know that in my heart, then I would never ask another woman to be my wife. I would never ask another woman to spend their life with me. And so that was the promise I made to myself. And then I simply said, okay, well, what do I need to do to make that happen? And that's how I kind of came up with the 5 steps for dating success. I wish I could say I was sitting, in a park and the bush started burning next to me and, God started speaking to me saying, Joe, my son, here are the 5 steps which will help you create the love of your life. I really wish I could say that, but it's not true. I simply look back once I made it happen and go, okay, what did I do? How come I was able to do it? How come I was able to achieve the kind of relationship that I always wanted, but wasn't able to do it up until now? And so that's what I'm going to share for you in a little while. So I know some of you who are listening this, are resonating with this, have been trying to do things a certain way, and maybe you can resonate with the story. And I'm a person, I love quotes, and so what I simply want you to do is understand a quote by Albert Einstein. And that quote is, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. One of the things I see all the time with some of the women that I mentor and work with is trying to continue to do this. They say they date the same jerk after, one after another, the same kind of guy. They keep going after guys, telling themselves like things. It's chemistry. They keep staying in relationships because I love him. Even though the guy's making their life miserable, he's cheating on them, he's disrespecting, he's not showing up, he's not keeping his agreements. Yet we continue to stay. We keep BSing ourselves. And I always say that you can lie to yourself for a little while, but also we know the truth. That's why I believe God put our gut instinct, our intuition into us. It's as an internal guidance system to let us know. But we have the power to choose. We have something called the mind and the ego, and we can rationalize and justify to make things come out the way we think they're going to come out or hope they're going to come out. But the reality is you can't bullshit yourself. And so you simply have to learn how to do things different. And the fact that you're here tonight tells me you want to learn how to do things different, and I'll give you some really cool things to learn how to do things different. And I simply want you to know that there's a happy ending to this story. After I got clear and really took my mirror time to really see what I was doing wrong and made some of the changes that I'll be sharing with you, I was able to meet the person who would become my wife. Now, this is a picture of my wife, Natalie, and she's my world. She's my best friend. She's my lover. She's my partner for life. She's the mother of my children, and she's really my soulmate. And when I say that, it's not one of those airy-fairy things like, it's this divine thing. It's that we make each other's lives better. We are there for each other, and we're two human beings. We're not perfect by any means. I've got my stuff, and Natalie's got her stuff, and we're both big enough to admit it. But when you're with somebody that you can count on, that will always be there for you, you don't want to go anywhere else. See, I think one of the reasons I was picked to do this kind of work, because I didn't set out to do it, trust me. One of the reasons I was picked to do this kind of work is because there's this myth out there that guys don't want it. Guys are afraid of it. Guys can't commit to it. And it's simply the biggest bunch of BS. When you are with the right woman and she lights your world up in and out of the bedroom, why would you want to go anywhere else? And any guy who does is simply immature and selfish. And he's not emotionally available. So those are not the kind of guys that you want to get involved in a relationship with. And so I shared with you earlier that, the reason I stayed with my ex is because of the payoff of one day having a family. And after the relationship broke off, I questioned, is it ever going to happen? I just wanted to have one son to share my life with, to have that relationship like I had with my dad. Well, one of the things I've learned in my journey is how blessed we can be, because not only did I get one son, I've been blessed with three. And so these are my three boys. On the left is my son Robert, in the center is my son Michael, and on the right is my son Daniel. And I look back in my life, anytime I've wanted one thing and it was a long, arduous journey, it always turned out so much more than I had hoped for. And so I share this with you tonight, not to say brag or say that I'm anything special, but to let you know that when you get real, you get clear, and you do the right things for the right reasons, God takes care of the details. If you would have told me how I would have met my wife and that I would have had three amazing boys when I was going through my shit, I would have bet everything I owned against it. But when you stay committed to your truth, you stay on the path, and you do your work, magic happens. So what I'd like to do now is actually open the line up, because I want to help you to understand why 85% of the people struggle. Why 85% of individuals will go to their deathbed never having a happy and fulfilling, successful relationship. So if I can, I'd like to get a volunteer. And so let me just pull up my list here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this down. So if you are on the call and you would like to volunteer, all I'm going to do is ask you to raise your hand. Now, to volunteer, you need to have a laptop with a microphone on it. So if you don't have a laptop with a microphone, it's not going to work because nobody's going to hear you. So in order for this to work, you do need a laptop with a microphone. And basically, I'm going to take you through an exercise that's going to help you to understand why you're struggling, why you're having such a hard time creating the relationship that you really want. Now, I know nobody ever likes to go first. So what I like to do in this is say, we're going to bypass the first volunteer and go right to the second. So I'm simply going to ask you to go ahead and to raise your hand. And so in order for this to work, we do need a volunteer because otherwise it's not going to work very well. So I'm going to simply ask somebody to raise their hand. Okay. All right. Great. So I see we've got a Deborah on the phone. So Deborah, I'm going to unmute you. Deborah, you there?
Yes, I am.
How are you, dear?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. First of all, Deborah, I want to acknowledge you for being here tonight, and I want to acknowledge you for going out of your comfort zone and volunteering.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. So, Deborah, I'm going to assume that you've come to this call because you're trying to create some kind of result in your love life. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So if I could give you a magic wand, Deborah, what is that result that you are hoping to create?
Meeting somebody that I connect with.
Okay. And if you met that person to connect with, what is the end result, the end destination that you're hoping to get to?
Marriage.
Marriage. Okay, excellent. So your end result is a long-term relationship / marriage.
Correct.
Okay, great. So can we agree, Deborah, that that is simply a result?
Yes.
Okay. So what I want you to understand, first of all, for Deborah and everybody listening, that marriage and a long-term relationship is simply a result. Now, Deborah, would you agree that there are a lot of people who are walking the planet who currently have that result?
Yes.
Okay. So would you also agree that if they have it, then you can create it as well?
I used to believe that.
Okay.
Having a hard time these days.
Okay.
But yeah. I mean, I want it to happen for me. If it's happening to other people, I don't understand why it's not happening for me.
Okay. So that's a different question. It's the question you're asking is that why is it not happening for me? And that's what I'm going to help. That's what I'm going to walk you through now.
Okay.
But could you wrap your arms around that? If it's happening for them, then it can happen for me.
Yes.
Okay. So if they're achieving the result, then so can I.
Right.
Okay. So now the answer to your question is why am I having a hard time creating that result?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to know that answer, Deborah?
Yes, I would.
Well, that's why you volunteered. Okay. So, Deborah, instead of focusing on creating your dream relationship, we're going to pretend we're going to build your dream house. And just for the purpose of this exercise, it's much easier because we don't have our emotions involved.
Okay.
Okay? So, if we were going to build your dream house, there were 3 things that we're ultimately going to use, and that's what the triangle represents. Each side of the triangle represents one of the things that you would need to create the result. So let's pretend we're starting from scratch, Deborah. What's the first thing that you would need if you were going to build your dream house?
What's the first thing I would need?
Yeah.
To build my dream house?
Mm-hmm.
Money?
Okay. Okay. And so let's pretend you've got enough money to build your dream house.
Okay.
Okay. But that's all you've got. Right now you've just got, you're pre-approved for a mortgage. You've got enough, but you're starting from scratch.
Right.
You're building the dream house now. Okay. You're going to build the result. What's the first thing you would need?
I would need to go out and find my dream home.
Okay. So you would first need a plan. You would need to know what kind of house you want, right?
Right. Right.
Okay. You want to know if it's going to be a split level, if it's going to be a bi-level, it's going to be a cape. You would need to know what kind of house do I want to build. Okay. That's the result. But then you would need the plan. You would need the blueprints.
Right.
Right? And blueprints comes under the category of knowledge. You would need to know how to build that house. Correct?
Correct.
Now, if you didn't have the knowledge, you didn't take any architecture classes, what would you do?
I would hire one.
You would go find somebody who had that knowledge, who
Yes.
knew how to build that result. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So now, Deborah, you've got the knowledge, or you know someone who has the knowledge. Is your house getting built?
Yes.
It is?
I hired him.
Okay. Okay, you hired him, but all he's got is knowledge. So you drop him off on your plot of land with his
Right.
knowledge. Is that
Now
how?
I have to tell him. I have to tell him what I want.
Okay. And so you've already worked with him. He's drawn up the blueprints. Okay, he meets you on your new 1 acre of land where you're going to build your dream home. And it's just the two of you standing there. Is
Right.
that house going to get built?
No.
Okay. What's missing still?
The people to build it?
Ah, excellent. Okay. You need somebody to build the house,
Right.
right? And so do you live near a mall, Deborah?
Yes.
Okay. What's the closest mall to your home?
Woodbridge.
Woodbridge. Okay. So you drive by you and I take a bus to the Woodbridge Mall and we say, we're going to build Deborah's new home, her dream home. And we need people to build the home. So we hold up a sign, we're going to pay everybody $300 a day. We load up the bus with 50 people. We drive over to your new plot of land. How confident are you that that busload of people are going to build your house?
The people at the mall. The
Yeah.
people I picked up at the mall.
Yep.
I'm not very confident.
Why not? They're people.
Yeah, but I don't think they're qualified people.
Ah, qualified. So what would they need in order to be able to build your house? Your dream home.
They would need to be builders.
And builders
Carpenters.
possess what? What makes them builders?
A license?
Okay. So
I don't know.
how about skills? Would they need a certain
Oh.
set of skills?
Yes.
Okay. So now not only do you have people to build your house, you need people who have the skills.
Right.
Would you agree that to create a long-term relationship, you would need a certain amount of relationship skills, and you would need to pick a partner who has relationship skills?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. So so far we're doing great. So now, Deborah, we're on your plot of land. You've got the blueprint, you've got the design, and you've got the people with the skills. But that's all you got. Is your house getting built?
Right. Is my house getting built?
Yeah.
Not quite yet.
Okay. What's still missing?
Knowledge, skills, results. I don't know.
So what are they
missing?
going to build your house with?
Materials.
Ah. So they need the last category, which is the tools.
Right.
Okay. So those are the raw materials that they can use to actually take your plan, the knowledge, and the skills and put it together to create the end result. Does this make sense?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Deborah, in order to create any result in life, what 3 things do we need?
Knowledge, skills, and tools.
Okay. So we said earlier that a successful long-term relationship / marriage is a result, correct?
Yes.
So to create a successful long-term relationship, what 3 things do you need?
Knowledge. Well, I need the knowledge, skills, and the tools to do it.
Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So Deborah, let me ask you this. You sound like an intelligent woman. What's your highest grade level of schooling that you've completed?
Masters.
Master. So you've got a master's degree, which means that if you started in kindergarten and you went to school for a minimum of 17 to 19 years.
Yes.
Okay. So Deborah, let me ask you this. In your 17 to 19 years of schooling, how much formal education and training did you get on the knowledge, skills, and tools to create a happy and fulfilling, successful relationship / marriage?
I got none.
How much?
I didn't get any.
Okay, say that one more time.
Nothing.
Oh,
None.
nothing. Okay. So, Deborah, what's your master's in?
Health, public health.
Okay. So if you didn't get any formalized training in public health, what are the odds of you succeeding in that area?
Not good.
Okay. So can we understand now why 85% of individuals fail at creating a happy and fulfilling long-term relationship?
Yes.
Okay. Because this thing about us human beings is we're very emotional creatures, and we do things based on our feelings and what we want and our desires, which very often are in conflict with what it is that we're trying to create.
Right.
And so we basically put ourselves in position to fail. And it's not that we're doing intentionally, it's just that nobody ever taught us.
Correct.
Does this make sense?
Yes.
So would you like to learn some knowledge, skills, and tools so you can create the results you want?
Yes, please.
All right. Well, you're going to get them. So, Deborah, I want to thank you so much for participating. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate you playing full out.
No problem.
All right, thanks. I'm going to go ahead and mute you now. Now, for those of you who are listening, I really hope that you understand that the reason why you continue to struggle is because nobody ever taught you. And so if nobody ever taught you, the odds of you succeeding are basically slim to none. Can some people luck out? Absolutely. But very few do. And so this isn't about luck. One of the things I hear all the time is, you're so lucky you have such a great relationship with your wife. And I'm like, you know what? That's the biggest bunch of bullshit. I didn't luck into this. I made it happen. You weren't around when I was, stinking up the joint because I was doing things wrong. But I had to learn how to do things different. I had to get clear. I had to work on some things. I had to acquire the knowledge and the skills and the tools to create the result that I really wanted. So this isn't luck. I find that people who say that simply use that as an excuse to justify why they're unlucky. And this isn't about being lucky. This is about being smart and being creative and helping you create the results you want. So as I said earlier, that after I created the results, I kind of look back and go, okay, why was I able to do it now? And that's kind of how this started, is that one of my patients once asked me, you got such a great relationship, and they had known me when I was going through the mess. What happened? Why is this one different? And I simply said, what, that's a great question. And so I really decided to take some time back and look and go, oh, when I did this, that worked. When I did this, that worked. When I did this, that worked. All these things are what ultimately led to the results. And that's how I came up with the 5 secrets to dating success. Because the reality is dating and relationships are not difficult when you have the knowledge, skills, and tools. And when you learn how to manage your emotion, which is part of the skills and the tools. Because very often we know we're in the bad relationships. We know we're in the wrong relationships. We know what we're doing isn't working, but we don't know how to do things any differently. As Einstein says, we're simply wired to do things in ways that aren't working. And so if you're listening to this tonight, if you're at a point in your life where you know what you're doing isn't working and you notice a pattern, maybe you're attracted to the wrong kinds of guys, maybe you stay in relationships too long, maybe you jump into relationships too soon. Anytime you have a pattern, I always say it's the universe's way of getting your attention and making you realize that that's not the right way to do things. So you can continue to try and make a square peg fit in a round hole. I've been there, done that. It's never going to work. Even if it does fit, it will never feel right. And I'm sure you've been in relationships, maybe you're in a relationship now where you've done everything to ignore your feelings or to try and make the guy happy just so you can have a relationship, just so he won't leave, just so you won't be alone. But you're never truly happy and fulfilled. A couple of weeks ago, my wife, a mutual friend of ours, was getting divorced, and my wife came up to me and she said, you know what? Do you think relationships are hard? And I looked her dead and I go, yeah, with the wrong person. But when you pick the right person for the right reasons, you don't have to work at your relationship. The God's honest truth is I don't have to work on my relationship with my wife. And again, I'm not saying that to say, look at us, we're special, we're luck, whatever. I'm telling that because when you pick the right person for the right reasons, when you have the knowledge, skills, the tools, and you do things the right way, and you find and attract that person, and you'll know who they are when they show up because of having the knowledge, skills, and tools. When you do that, you don't have to work on the relationship. You'll have to work on the other things in life because life is going to throw stuff at you. But the really cool thing about it is when life throws stuff at you, it actually makes your relationship stronger and better. The relationship my wife and I have today is totally different than where we were 13 years ago. And that's because life has thrown some serious shit at us. And if we weren't bonded, we weren't committed to each other, we didn't love, honor, respect, and enjoy each other, that stuff that life throws at us would have been like cracks in the ice, which would have just kept being deeper and wider until ultimately we fell in. And if you look at people whose relationships failed, people who are in the 85%, that's exactly what happens. Is they start off where everything's happy, happy, joy, joy, and then there's this thing called life. And life throws things at them. And because they don't have the right partner, they didn't pick the right partner from the beginning, those cracks chip away at their relationship until ultimately it falls apart. And so if you're listening tonight, it's my goal for you not to be in another one of those relationships. And if you're in one of those relationships, is to help you realize that it's not really serving you. And it will never lead to the results you really want, no matter how much you try and BS yourself. And so what I'd like you to do now is actually take you through the actual 5 steps for dating success. So if you have a pen, what I'd like you to do is really write these down, because this will really help you. Because this, like I say, we've only got a limited amount of time tonight, so I can just give them to you, and I'll go a little detail, but it's going to take some reflection on you. It's a matter of you stepping back and taking some time to really see and look at these things and see if it's good, what you need to do to create the results you want. So the first step is to take responsibility. I shared my journey earlier. After breaking up with my ex, it would have been real easy for me to point the finger and blame her. But the truth is, she never once put a gun to my head. She never forced me to do anything that I didn't want to do. And I stayed and I made choices and decisions for my own reason. And I saw too many people in life who blamed other people. And so I didn't want to be one of those people. So I needed to take a good look in the mirror and said, what role did I play in this madness? And so that's simply the first step. If you want to go forward, you want to create that happy and fulfilling relationship, you've got to take responsibility for the role that you've played up until now. What choices and decisions did you make? Did you simply go for the guys because of the chemistry? Did you simply go for the guys because of, the size of what kind of job he made? Did you simply go for the guys because you were looking for love? You were so desperate that you took anybody who came along. Again, this isn't to blame. Okay? And please understand that this is not about making anybody wrong. I would say it's kind of like just shining the light on, going, that's interesting. Oh, that didn't work. Got to learn to do some things different. And that's the whole purpose of step number 1. By taking responsibility, you simply open yourself up to seeing what didn't work and what you needed to do and what you need to do differently from this point on. So that's the first step. The second step is you got to get crystal clear. When I work with my mentoring clients, I take them through a process. It's called the checklist for love. And what the checklist for love is identifying what I call the essential needs. If you're going to spend the rest of your life with someone, what is it that you absolutely positively must have? I've actually created, and this is how I actually found my wife, is I created this process. And I came up, and that list is different for everyone. And what I find, what a lot of women do is, I just want a man. I just want a relationship. And it's not about that, because how many guys have you gotten? How many relationships have you had that you thought were wonderful? But then 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, 3 decades later, you realize this was never the guy that I really wanted. But then you go back, well, in the first 3 weeks, he was wonderful. Well, you know what? That's not who he really is. And that's part of the knowledge, skills, and tools, and is learning how to date. Putting a guy on a probation period to let him earn your trust and everything else. So you've got to learn how to get crystal clear and really ask yourself what it is that you need if you're going to spend the rest of your life with someone, and to stop wasting your time on guys who obviously can't give you those things. So that's the second step, is you got to get clear. The third step is you have to take right action. And so right action is a lot like a person who wants to lose weight. Now, if you want to lose weight, you've got to do the right things. Okay? you've got to eat the right foods. So you can have all the knowledge in the world. If you don't take the right actions, you don't eat the healthy foods, well, then you're not going to lose weight. And so what most of us do is we come up with all the reasons and all the excuses of why it's okay just to have some junk. It's not that big deal. It's only one. Well, you know what? You might get away with it once, but you can't do it consistently. So there's a simple way to know if you're taking the right action or not. And that's to ask yourself the big question. And the big question is, will this blank take me closer to my goal or further away? So if you're dating a guy and he hasn't been calling you, okay, and he disappears, and it's obvious that he's not giving you the love and attention that you know you deserve, simply ask yourself, will calling this guy take me closer to my goal or further away? So in the case of Deborah, will calling this guy make it easier for me to have that relationship that I really want, that long-term fulfilling relationship, or will it take me further away? Because, yeah, you might have a relationship, but is it going to be the kind of relationship you really want? And that's where getting clear will really help you. Because when you're clear on what you want, it makes it so much easier to walk away from what I call the Mr. 60%. You know, guys who do some things right occasionally. Because let's be honest, you wouldn't stay with a guy who is a complete jerk unless you really had some, you know, underlying self-esteem and self-worth issues. But if you're with a guy, it's usually because he does some things right some of the time. And you use that to justify yourself. But it'll never lead to the relationship you really want. So you've got to get real. You've got to learn how to take these right actions. And that leads us to the fourth step, and that's learning from your past. You know, Winston Churchill has a quote that says, "Those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it." Well, I agree 100%. See, I think, you know, I've run into so many clients that I mentor and so many other women that are so pissed at their exes. You know, to this day, I am grateful for everything that my ex put me through. Okay? Because going through that experience made me open my eyes. It made me realize that I had to do some things different. And I know with every ounce of my being that if I didn't go through that and I didn't learn from it, that I wouldn't have the relationship I have with my wife today. And so I don't believe anything in life is a mistake if you learn from it. And I honestly call my relationship with my ex my most expensive learning lesson because it cost me in many, many, many ways. But like I say, I learned a lot from it. So I would go back and do it all again. And so when you get to a point in your life where you can look at your past without judgment, without the hurt, and honestly learn from it, you put yourself in a position to move forward and go and create the relationship you want. And now, if you have a hard time learning from your past, you know, there's still some juice there, then do yourself a favor and go clean it up. Go work on it. Do your work. Because I can tell you this as a man, we don't want to be with women who got baggage, who are stuck in the past, or who are going to bring their past and project it onto us. You know, so if a guy has hurt you, a guy has crapped on you, and you're going to take that out on us, you're not going to trust us, you're going to be jealous, you're going to be insecure, and you're going to take it out on us. That might work for a little while, but any man is ultimately going to get tired of that. So you've got to be able to learn from your past. And you've got to be able to put it behind you and use it as a catalyst so you can go forward and do things different, do things better. And the fifth step is you've got to be able to learn from somewhere else. You know, when I took Deborah through that exercise, you know, I asked her the question, are there other people on this earth who already have that result? And she quickly answered yes. Well, if those people can do it, why can't you? See, those people who are already succeeding, those people who know how to make it work, they know how to create the results. I always say you wouldn't want to take financial advice from a homeless guy on the bench, would you? You know, you probably want to seek someone like, you know, a Donald Trump, even though I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump, but when it comes to, you know, making money, you know, or, you know, financial work, the guy does pretty well. You can't argue with that. Or a Warren Buffett or a Bill Gates or a Richard Branson, you know, all guys who have succeeded. They know how to do it. Well, you really should be finding those individuals who have happy and fulfilling long-term relationships. You know, I gotta laugh. You know, there are so many expert and gurus out there teaching people how to find love who are divorced or who are single. And I find, it's kind of amazing. Now, I'm not saying that they don't have the knowledge, but knowledge is only one piece of the puzzle. Okay? You've got to be in the trenches. You got to be able, you got to be taking out, you got to be creating that result day after day, week after week, month after month, and you've got to have a proven track record. So my philosophy is if you don't have that proven track record, well, then your accountability goes down in my world. And that's simply, like I said, that's simply my belief. That's my philosophy. You can try it on and see if that works for you. But anytime I want to succeed, I follow this simple step that I learned from one of my mentors. And it's from T. Harv Eker, who writes, if you want to succeed at anything, simply find someone already successful and model them. See, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You simply have to learn from those who are already doing it. See, the beauty of having somebody who's already further down the road is they've made all the mistakes. They know what it takes, not only to not make mistakes, but to create the results that you ultimately want. So I believe that, the good Lord put people on the earth to help those individuals who are struggling in any area. And that's the beauty of life, is that no matter what area you are struggling in, there are other people who have already succeeded. Those are the people you want to learn. So I've kind of come up with my own phrase. And that's a smart person learns from their mistakes. An intelligent person learns from the mistakes of others, and a fool never learns. And so let's apply that to this dating and relationship world. A smart person, they'll learn from their mistakes. It might take them a while, but ultimately they make the mistake and then they learn. But an intelligent person learns from the mistakes of others. See, when I was younger, I always thought I was smart because I was like, you know what, I'll make a mistake, but I'll learn from it. And then I worked with one of my mentors who told me, you know what, that's cool, but an intelligent person learns from the mistakes of others. And I'm like, and she's like, wouldn't you rather not make the mistake and get to the results quicker because you've learned from the others who've already made the mistake? And I'm like, you know what, that makes so much sense. If you're going on a trip, wouldn't you rather learn from somebody who's already been down that road, who already knows all the detours, all the pitfalls, and all the roadblocks? Wouldn't you want them to show you how to get there much quicker and much faster so you can enjoy the end result? And that's the philosophy that I live my life by every day. And the last part of my statement is that a fool never learns. See, one of the things about us human beings is we are so caught up in pride. We've got to show that we know everything, that our way is the right way, and we're going to make that square peg fit in that round hole. Well, I've got a simple question. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And I was one of those individuals who years had to prove everybody wrong, and I made a ton of mistakes, which cost me in many, many ways. And so now I simply realize it doesn't have to be like that. And I want you to realize it doesn't have to be like that. So I came up with a little diagram to help you understand how to create the results quicker. Because if you're on this call, you're probably a lot like me. You want to know how to get from point A to point B in the quickest, most efficient time. Because one of the things I see all the time is people going on the internet and reading books, and they read book after book, and they search the internet, and they listen to this expert and that, and they watch this video and that. And I'm not saying those things are bad. They're good. But the reality is you've been doing all that, and you're still in the same place, aren't you? So, again, having knowledge is wonderful, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. You need the skills and you need the tools. And so when you invest in those type of modalities, books and the internet, it simply takes the longest amount of time and you get the least amount of results. And so the next best way is by investing in an AV program. So this is like an audio book. It could be a CD. It could be a video. Something where you actually purchase the program and you sit and you watch it and you maybe do a couple exercises. And saying, it's okay. It just takes you a lot longer that way. And the next best way is going to a live event. And that's usually like a weekend event where you're totally immersed in things, where there's no outside distractions, and you're just fully one-on-one taking in everything you're learning. But the problem with most of those things is you come back into the real world, and you're dealing with the same obstacles and challenges which you didn't learn how to navigate. And so therefore you start sliding down the mountain. So that's pretty good, but there's a much, much better, quicker, and faster way. And that's simply working with a mentor. Simply somebody who understands what it takes, who's already been there, who's already made the mistakes, who will show you how to get from point A to point B in the quickest, most efficient way. And like I say, there are a lot of mentors out there. You probably know some people who are already getting the results. But in the event you don't have a mentor and you're looking to create those results quicker, I have some gifts for you. Now, what I've learned in doing the work that I'm doing is that everybody has to learn in different ways. I always say it's kind of like going to the beach. Some people have to, go into the beach and they've got to dip their toe in and they got to take it out and they got to dip their toe in, they got to take it out. Then they got to walk up into their ankles and then they got to, hang out there for 5 minutes and they got to wait till everything's perfect before they jump in. And that's fine. That's just simply how people are. So if you're that kind of person, what I'd like to do is offer you an opportunity to sign up for our free ebook or mini course. And so to take advantage of that offer, you simply go to our website, which is www.smarterdatingforwomen.com. And on there, you'll see a link at the top that says free stuff. Okay? And so you click on either the ebook or when you land on the page, you'll see sign up for our free mini course. And that's designed to give you some knowledge and some skills. It's designed to give you some things that will help you to start getting some better results. Now, if you're the type of person who, goes to the beach and you got to walk in a little, you'll go in, but you'll walk in slowly until, you get to that area. And then once you're to that area, then it's like, okay, then you're in. What I'd like to offer you is an opportunity to watch another webinar that I've created, which is called Uncovering the Truth. Discover the real reasons why you continue to struggle in your love life. I know if you're listening to this, there's a part of you that realizes something's going on. I just can't put my finger on it. And I really want to know what's exactly missing. What am I not doing? What is it that I should be doing? What am I missing on? Or maybe you're saying, I know I've got some stuff there that maybe I've been avoiding, maybe not to deal with. And so I want to learn how to really get to the bottom of why I continue to struggle so I can go and create the results I want. So if that's you, I strongly recommend you go and watch this program. And there's two ways to do this. You can go to this long link here, which is smarterdatingforwomen.com/free stuff, uncovering the truth. Or you can simply go to the website from above, smarterdatingforwomen.com, and click on the link at the top for free stuff. And in there, you will see the link for this webinar. Now, of everything I've done, this is probably the most important because it helps you understand this is what's really going on. You want to know exactly what's going on. Okay? This is exactly where your problem lies because it's only in one of three areas. Tonight we talked about the three things you need to learn to create the results. Well, very often in life, we've got the knowledge, we've got the skills, but we still do things that don't create the results. Have you ever been in a relationship where you knew you needed to do things different? You knew you weren't in the right relationship. You knew you shouldn't have slept with a guy. And you knew you weren't going to sleep with a guy. But then something happened, and that little voice took over, and you did what you shouldn't have done. And then you beat yourself up for it. Well, there are reasons why we do this. See, human behavior is very predictable when you understand it. And so I put this video together to help you really get to the core of what the real issues are. Now, if you're the type of person who just goes up to the beach and just goes running right in because you want the experience as quickly and efficiently as possible, and after listening to this, you realize, you know what? I got to be honest. I don't have the knowledge, skills, and tools. And you're realizing that you don't want to have to figure it out on your own. You don't want to have to continue to read books or go on webinars and do all this other stuff. You've struggled for too long and you want to put an end to that. And you're interested in figuring out how you can get to the result as quickly and efficiently as possible. Well, I've designed a program which is called the GPS for Love Mentoring Program. And in that, it's an opportunity for you and I to work together to see what's really going on, and so that I can show you how to create the results so you can create the relationship you really want. Someone always asks me, why do I do this? I went to school to be a chiropractor. Why did I give that up to help people find love? And the best way I can explain that is, imagine if you lived in a remote part of the world where everybody in your village was dying from dehydration, and you found the magic well. Or not a magic well. You just found the well. And in that well was enough water for everyone. And you knew where that well was, and you knew how to show everybody how to get to that well. Wouldn't you feel that it was your duty to share what you know, what you've learned with others so that they didn't have to suffer, they didn't have to struggle any longer? Well, that's exactly how I feel. I struggled for 14 freaking years. Nobody ever showed me what to do. I had to make a ton of bad choices, bad decisions, and bad mistakes simply because I didn't know any better. And the irony is I thought I was doing the right thing. And so I want you to realize is that it doesn't have to be that way. There is a better way, a quicker way, and a faster way. So if that's something that resonates with you, I suggest you check it out. And how that works is you simply fill out a questionnaire, which helps me understand exactly where you're stuck and what's going on. And then we get together for 30 minutes where you and I chat on the phone. And we simply explore and get to the real cause of what's going on, why you struggle. And then at the end of the time, we talk about the possibility of going forward. And if it's something that resonates with you, we explore it. And if not, we simply part as friends. But at least you'll walk away knowing exactly what the cause of your problems are. So before we open up for the Q&A, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. You know, these gifts are there for you. One of my favorite expressions in life is God helps those who help themselves. You know, listen, if you come and get something valuable, that's awesome. But if you don't do anything with it, it's kind of a waste of time. So whatever you needed to get from tonight, simply take it and then start putting it in action. So if you're called to take action in any one of these three ways, then simply do it. Make a commitment for yourself to do it now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till next week because you know you're not going to do it. You know, human beings, we're very interesting creatures. We say we want something, but when given the opportunity to create the results, we'll talk ourselves out of it. We'll come up with the excuses. And there's reasons for it, and this is something that you'll learn and uncover the truth, is no matter how much we say we want something logically, emotionally, very often we're wired not to get it or we're afraid to get it. And so it's something you really want to explore. So I really recommend that if you're listening to this, you check that out. You'll walk away with a tremendous amount from it. So sounds good. So again, I want to thank you and acknowledge you for being here. So what I'd like to do now is simply open the line up for some Q&A.